Okay, back to Bingo Akasaka. What first attracted me here back in the summer was this boulder field. We've heard that in North America there are connections between boulder fields and Sasquatch, and boulder fields and missing people. At the Kui boulder field here in Kui, Mitsugi, Mihara City, we have the last ever public sighting of a hibagon, last recorded sighting of a hibagon, Japanese Bigfoot, or Sasquatch. And that was the fellow, you remember, he was up on a cliff, he was dancing around and hooting and hollering, and he had a stone axe in one hand and a stone in the other. And the two eyewitnesses differentiated between the stone axe in one hand and the stone in the other. And from the same Kui boulder field, we have one missing person on the National Police Agency list of mysteriously disappeared persons. So, boulder field. And it's an unnamed boulder field. It's not a tourist attraction like the Kui one, so a wild boulder field. Then there's this chunk taken out of the mountain. That looked like an old quarry to me. Now that was interesting. I thought there might be some attractive man-made caves there. Attractive if you were a cave dweller. Might be some caves. Kyle, you didn't know how right you were with that one. We'll see all about that. These, what look like dams or reservoirs, are good water sources, and if you're an athletic superhuman giant, like me, but even more so, say, and your vocation is running around mountains all day, your large muscles are going to need a lot of water and a lot of electrolytes. I'm not a sport doctor or anything, but that's just what I think. And this mountain is the southern limit of a wilderness area that stretches way back north to where the Ashita River bends. And you remember that's where we found a ton of timber and bamboo structures, multimedia structures with forms taken straight out of the field guide to Sasquatch structures, and large areas of smashed down, trampled bamboo. And what do we hear time and time again in the hibagon sightings? Witnesses go back to investigate, and they say they find large swaths of trampled trees, trampled bamboo, trampled corn, trampled stuff. This is where I found the suspected hibagon Sasquatch footprint. I'm convinced it is a footprint, was a footprint. Just down the slope, just down the hill from a hibagon Sasquatch roadblock with hibagon Sasquatch glyphs. And this is the same mountain just over here where I heard the knocking back in the bush behind that graveyard. So, I mean, what is not to like about this mountain? But hold on to your shorts, it gets better. Right outside the station, a good-sized tumulus, well-preserved tumulus. In fact, it's a rare, unopened tumulus. Now, for tumulus, just remember tomb. That's easy. Tumulus is a tomb. It's a megalithic tomb. The best photos I could find are these old ones here. So, Hebegon presence in the area, right on top of ancient megalithic presence. Something we see time and time again. The pattern established, of course, on Mount Heba. Strongly established. Up here, up on this ridge, we have a lovely arrangement of megaliths that seems to be facing, I don't know, it could be the same direction as our New Year's stones on Mount Zhao that we discovered earlier this year and last year. Remember, we discovered those and we interpreted them and tested them and proved them. 2 of them, remember? One is unproven. The liquor cabinet-sized, presumed original New Year's stone, that one we tested and proved. The World War I British Mark V Army tank-sized, scaled-up model, that one we haven't tested yet. But early next month, the sun swings back to a 109-degree sunrise for 2 mornings. It's going to be the start of the ancient solar term Rito, the start of autumn. So, if the weather is good, if it's not cloudy, class will be taking a field trip up there, bright and early, 2 mornings to greet the sunrise and test that big guy. Behind the graveyard, where I heard that knocking, there is a wild trail, not a human trail, and it seems to go this way, over back around here. A little research taught me that there's a megalithic tomb up there somewhere. Another megalithic tomb. An opened one, a man-made cave. Again, attractive to cave dwellers, may be. So I thought we could try to get up the back way, up through here, and reach the other side of that trail. With me on this day were Shiori, Nami, Kaho, Toru, Ryoichi, and this channel's very own camera girl. Quite a group. We were not going to take any Hebegon by surprise, that's for sure. Not going to catch them napping. Now, immediately as we get up behind these houses, we find large megalithic ruins below us, lower down from us on the hillside, so kind of useless to photograph. They look like either fortification walls or tombs with collapsed roofs, leaving only walls. But if so, the roof stones were removed. They were totally missing. Another possibility is the vertical moat. Vertical moat. Next time I go, I'll bring a long selfie stick and try to get the camera down in there. Up higher, we found this. Fantastic. Tons and tons and tons of boulders. Many with straight lines and right angles or other angles. Something huge. And on the other side of the trail, enormous. Enormous. Hidden in the trees, you can't see stuff like this on aerial photos. as helpful as they are, you have to be here on the ground. So those exposed, bare-naked boulders are just a hint of what is here, littering this mountain. Giant boulders, some obviously hewn, some are stacked up, some are heaped, some are just spilled all over, and some are under our feet. Here the earth is split open, and we don't even know what we are looking at. It may be that the weight of this wall is tearing the hillside apart, and we're looking into the gash. I spy a stone wall through the bush. It's not megalithic, not ancient, I don't think. I'm guessing no more than 500 or 600 years old. I ask the group to stay together here with camera girl in charge. That's not a joke. Shiori, Nami, Kaho, and Toru told me they'd never been on a mountain before, which is unbelievable. This is a country of mountains, but they've never been on a mountain or even stepped inside a forest before. They were nervous. Ryoichi has a little more experience with me, but camera girl already at her tender age has more outdoor experience than all of them combined. So she was in charge, and she entertained them with stories of adventure, her past adventures while I went up that trail, snooped around. And then above it, through some bush.
So this is a huge ruin we're on top of. No idea what it is. I don't think it's on my castle database. This is pretty much the top of it. These spiders are horrible. Yeah. Oh, good grief. Oh, good heavens. Oh, wow.
So, I thought this was an old quarry. I wish I'd taken more photos, but listen, I had to put my camera away because I didn't realize it at first. Fortunately, I did realize it. I'd stepped out, way out, on a narrow ledge on the middle of this rock face. Just stepped out on the middle ledge with a long way down onto rock. So the day could have ended very badly right here. But anyway, this is not a quarry. I found out it is a mine. All of these are mines. I found this out at the library. They're only mentioned in one very old book, in a special collection not available to the public. You need special permission to enter that area to even have a hope of a chance of finding this book. Well, I found it. It says these are mines known to have been working in the 9th century. 9th century AD, so that's 1,200 years ago, more. They are documented as being worked as early as the 9th century. They might be much older. There's no start date, no date of establishment. History just picks them up in the 9th century, and they are active already at that time. And they were still being worked during World War I. So that's over 1,000 years of operation. And you can take it back, I think, a lot longer, thousands of years longer. I think we're going to find evidence of that. The book said, you might want to sit down for this one. And this is the book. I'm not saying it. The book said it was estimated that in these mines there are 30 kilometers of tunnels. 30 kilometers of tunnels, at least. That's 18 or 19 miles, I guess, snaking all over. How attractive might that be if you were a cave dweller? Listen to this. I had a friend, and he's dead now. He was a doctor, well-to-do, with a taste for fine wine, and I mean fine wine. He'd come over with a bottle, unannounced. He'd say, "Hey, Kyle, I got this interesting bottle of wine. I want to try it. You want to try it with me?" So we'd drink it. And later, after he'd left, I'd look it up and find we just casually drank a $300, $400 bottle of wine. Well, he hoarded wine. He bought it by the case, and this is what he'd do with it. He'd put cases of wine in his car, load up his car, and take a drive up into the mountains alone to a top secret location. Then he'd get out a shovel and he'd dig holes in the earth and he'd bury his wine. He'd bury it. As he explained it, why should he pay for a fancy wine cellar or fancy wine storage? And anyway, he didn't have enough space in town. But you take a little drive up there and to your top secret location, you have all the space in the world and you just bury it. You dig down 3 feet and you've got a perfect 60-degree wine cellar all year long. Correct humidity and everything. I don't know if he kept written records or a map, or if he just remembered it all in his head like a squirrel. But he dropped dead one day. Massive heart attack. And somewhere up in those mountains he left a princely buried treasure of fine wine. I sure wish I knew where. His wife had no idea. So imagine 30 kilometers of cool in summer, warm in winter wine cellars. And how attractive that could be to a family, a large family of cave dwellers. And what were they taking out of these mines? Well, several metals, including gold, silver, and copper, according to the book. All right, so we have layers and layers of history and prehistory on this mountain, from megalithic to ancient to feudal age, through feudal age, and modern. What a glorious mess. And to complicate things further, you're not supposed to take photos in that section of the library, but the rules don't say anything about video. So I think we're okay to take video. This is our mountain. On each mountain on either side, there used to be a castle. That's what the red numbers signify. And every red number on these pages is an old castle. That's a lot of old castles. No castle recorded on this mountain, but there could be outer works here, outer defenses, watchtowers, and these old mines could very well, after all, have been quarried. Maybe recycled as quarries, because that's an awful lot of castles, and you know that they're using an awful lot of stone. Well, this is getting too long. I'll leave it here. I did not fall off the ledge and splatter my brains below. I rejoined our group safely, and we continued in search of that megalithic tomb. And we'll pick up with that next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.